Sponsored by AC Designs.
Well, hello, everybody. I am meteorologist Lewis Turner. I'm going to be joined very shortly with my colleague and meteorologist Lee Southwick as we knock the dust off a lot of these winter weather graphics that, by the grace of God, we only have to use around these parts maybe once or twice a decade. I think we're going to go back to 2018 when we were talking about winter weather, at least widespread winter weather. We had some flurries, even some snow accumulations in Waycross, and we're getting kind of similar things setting up here as we go into tomorrow, late evening, overnight, into Wednesday morning. So a lot of questions. I'm going to give you guys a chance. I've put on my Facebook page. I've put in, it's obviously on the First Coast News page and YouTube as well. We're going to monitor questions if you have them. I've seen some common questions. Even if you want to go community by community, I think we'll answer a lot of those questions as we go into a lot of these graphics. So kind of bear with me here as we do that. But also, fire away. I had somebody ask if we're going to get snow in Callahan, and I was talking about it. If you're asking me to bet the farm, say yes or no firmly, yes or no, I'd say no. However, it's tough to rule it entirely out. It's a greater than 0% chance that we'd see some flurries there on that side of things. So let's go through the main impacts. Weather impact alert certainly in place for our Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning. The worst at 10 a.m. to 8 a.m. Though I think, inland southeast Georgia out towards Valdosta, that's 75 corridor, Lake City, could certainly begin feeling impacts as far as a cold rain or a wintry mix a little bit earlier, and then exiting at least southern edges of our area with cold rain by midday on Wednesday. So I think if we expand it just a little bit, we'll be looking at those time frame for this whole event to essentially be over with. But the worst of the impact is going to be when the moisture and the precipitation sync up with the coldest temperatures, which right there will be that time frame. So your impacts: rain, cold rain. For a lot of folks, in fact, a majority of the area, that cold, widespread rainfall that most all of us will at least experience. Snow. Saying the S words, snow and sleet, and those will be the ones we limit it to here in this stream. Those at least rated PG S words, and then freezing rain. And freezing rain, you get snow, sleet. Sleet's messy. Snow's fun to look at if we're talking about just fun stuff for a limited amount of time. But freezing rain is where you start to run into some issues. That's the rain, and I'll show you a graphic in a moment explaining kind of the differences of all these. But freezing rain is what will accumulate on power lines and tree limbs, and you get up to a little more than 1/10 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch of that, which will be possible in some areas. And then you're talking about power outages, which will not be great when we're dealing with temperatures that we're going to be dealing with in the 20s in some spots. So we need to prep for the cold and just have it in our mind's eye. A lot of this will be while many of us are sleeping, but waking up Wednesday morning, we're going to want to avoid some roads as well. So let's look at a few computer models, shall we? Let's go through the computer modeling and kind of zero in on taking the best information that we have and then putting our own kind of expertise and knowledge into it to give you where we're zeroing in. So again, this is Tuesday into Wednesday morning. So look at this. This is even Wednesday, 3:30 in the morning. Most human beings will be asleep at this point. We'll be right here. I'll be getting ready for Good Morning Jacksonville, in fact, Wednesday morning, when that pink area you see, that's a sleet indicator or even a freezing rain indicator. Some sort of wintry mix is what we'll call it. Anything south of that pink line is going to be a really, really cold rain. So you'll notice there, this would include parts of Folkston, Camden County, Glenn County, Ware Pierce County, even with that wintry mix. So it will have started with rain, transitioning over into that wintry mix Wednesday overnight. And you see that snow line, that blue and white, that remains just north there of Ware and Pierce. Putting it forward just a couple of hours, so 5:30. Now we're looking, for my cartographers out there and my friends who are ultimately familiar with the highways, my bullseye is kind of Highway 84. So Highway 84 that runs through Georgia between Homerville up into Waycross, beyond to Jessup, and then north. It runs from southwest to northeast. And that line, anything north of Highway 84, I think we have the best chance of seeing actual snowfall and some accumulations possible of an inch, maybe more, in that area. South of that, you might run into some flurries, a mix. It's tough to really nail down the fact that you get accumulations. And then, look, this is midday Wednesday, St. Johns County, Putnam County, Flagler County. We're talking about a cold rain, but then exiting the area. So let's run into, that's your European model. Let's kind of look at the GFS model as we go through that overnight Wednesday, Tuesday into Wednesday. A lot of the same, maybe a little more, leaning a little more aggressively towards snow lingering around for Ware, Pierce, Brantley, and even western Glenn County with this in particular modeling. But notice midday Wednesday into Thursday, clearing. This computer model is showing our freezing rain forecast. I mentioned the freezing rain being an issue when it comes to your power outages and tree limbs coming down, and of course, when it comes to transportation. So moderate risk of getting at least a little bit of a freezing rain accumulated. It dips down into northeast Florida. So west side of Duval, Nassau, west of 95, Camden County, all of Glenn County, so probably could get that freezing rain even out on the island, St. Simons into Jekyll, though right on the sand, you're getting better conditions closer to the ocean. And then off towards Lake City. So notice that I-10 corridor. So if you're driving out of Jacksonville along I-10, remember your bridges, remember your overpasses, those secondary rural roads, the dirt roads, things like that. They're going to cool off much quicker, and it's going to lead to some issues with the freezing rain. So that would be Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Now, how about, let's talk snow. I mean, it's fun to talk snow. The reality of chances of snow in Jacksonville, Florida, extremely low. All right, so will I see snow in the south side, Mandarin? Will I see snow Ponte Vedra, or even over towards White House, west side? You know, the further west you get away from the river, in Duval County, the potential for maybe spotting a flurry, squinting your eyes and saying, oh, I see a flurry, it exists. It's greater than a 0% chance. However, it's such a low chance. It's more of a chance of that freezing rain or the wintry mix for west side of Duval, even west Nassau. So as you can see that map kind of including a little sliver of that northwestern portion of Nassau County. Included in this is West Camden County. So thinking Woodbine, Kingsland could see some flurries. Better chance of getting some more of that light accumulation is, again, the Highway 84, not I-84, but Highway 84 that would run kind of up through Waycross. Folkestone can't rule it out either. You'll be watching very carefully for a flurry. West Glen, 95 west of Brunswick, you're going to be right on that edge. So this map kind of breaking down where we're focusing our snow chances. This again, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, we're focused on that snowy potential in Waycross. So we'll be watching very carefully the wintry mix, which would be a mix of that really, really cold rain transitioning into the potential for some sleet or a freezing rain for a good portion of our area that would be south of that Highway 84, which essentially would be, we'll just call it from Folkestone and the Okefenokee Swamp down through the St. Mary's River to the I-10 corridor. And, western edges of Duval, even into a sliver of northwestern Clay, we can't be surprised to see that. And then further south for the rest, we're talking about a really, really cold rain. So St. Johns County, I know folks in and around my neighborhoods, and you're walking around Publix, hey, Lou, is it going to snow here? I'm right in that Fruit Cove area, and it's hard to say yes. And, we talk about these forecasts for a lot of days, you maybe get a little wishful thinking, some people, of seeing a flurry. And if you were to see maybe a little sleet, you might confuse it as a flurry. But St. Johns County, most likely, we're looking at just a really, really cold rain. So we're talking about differences of the types of precipitation when we say wintry mix or freezing rain or sleet. Just kind of a little review, meteorological review for you. For there to up in the cloud, when you got these extremely cold temperatures, the water will then condense into the snowflake. The physics of those temperatures, when you're going straight from gas to solid, will become that snowflake. 32-degree air from the cloud or below 32 degrees all the way to the surface, and it's easy. You're talking about snow. But it's not easy here. It's really not as far as winter weather forecasting, because at middle levels of the atmosphere, what plays games with you. So that's why National Weather Service each and every day is sending, weather balloons up into the sky twice a day, morning and afternoon, to see what those layers of the atmosphere are like. Just like a cake, you get different layers, different levels, even, several thousand feet up might be warmer than a layer below it or a layer above it. That's what gets really tricky because we've got ocean currents to deal with and warm air from the south. So where we get sleet, that snowflake, once it melts, and there could be warm air above, and warm meaning warm above 32 degrees. Once that snowflake melts into liquid form, it will not go from liquid back to a solid, refreezing into snowflake state. So when you get the brief little shallow area of warm air back into 32-degree air, that liquid will become that sleet, that kind of sharp ice feeling that you've probably seen before, and that can create a slippery condition, certainly on roads. And it also will mess with snowfall totals when it comes to adding things up at the end of one of these events. Now, a freezing rain really interesting is when you've got extremely cold air right at the surface. So you've got 32, or really in most cases below that, on tree limbs, on metal surfaces, on roads, on bridges, on overpasses, on the grass, on pavement. When you get those surfaces below 32 degrees, what's going to happen, that snowflake melts in that deep layer of warmer air that's above 32, and then will be liquid until the moment it hits the freezing surface, and then bam, it turns into a solid again, ice on those surfaces. That's a problem. Carries a lot of weight. It takes 1/10 of an inch, maybe a little more, to bring down tree limbs, power lines, things like that. That's why we worry about the potential for some power outages. And then, of course, rain. And we all know what that is. The snowflake melts all the way down and it stays above freezing until you get to the surface. So those are the things that we're dealing with there. All right, so your 5 Ps of cold, the things we need to practically prepare for. Practically prepare for the 5 Ps of cold. The people, the pets, the plants, practicing fire and heating safety, all of those, yes. Okay, so make sure we're taking care of the vulnerable to the temperatures, the elderly, those who are sick or may or may not have access to a warm place to be. And then the very young, too. Our kids are super susceptible to some of these cold temperatures as well. So let's keep them bundled up through all of this. Our pets, the outdoor cats, let's make them indoor cats if at all possible. Let's, or at least give them a warm place to escape to when it gets super cold. Plants, we've done this drill, especially our friends with the sensitive and tender vegetation of the tropical plants. We're going to protect the root ball if you can't protect anything else, but otherwise that blanket that's a little bit more breathable as opposed to a plastic tarp is always a better idea. But what about the pipes? That's a question that comes up a lot when we do these discussions. So I'll take a little sip of coffee, warm my pipes just a little bit. Talk about protecting pipes. We will definitely think about it for those who have exposed plumbing, for those that are going to spend time with temperatures 27 degrees or below for several hours. So you're going to want to, drip or at least run that water at about a pencil thin stream throughout the duration of those temperatures. Your tips there for you: warm clothing, water, food, medicine, especially those who may be susceptible to the power outages underneath that freezing rain, which is the I-10 corridor. So running out west of Jacksonville, getting into Baker County and beyond, out towards Lake City even, let's think about that as well. Protecting the pipes. So for most, not a concern until those temps are in the 20s for several hours, as mentioned. At risk are the exposed pipes and plumbing, and included in that would be your pool pumps as well. So think about that PVC running from that pool pump to the pool itself, whether above ground or in ground. Those areas, you're going to want to make sure that water is running. So run your pumps and through the overnight and early morning hours. And I'm sure now you probably have those winter hours going on your timer anyway, but something to think about. Protect, cover drip spigots. Good idea there. Disconnect your hoses, the hoses that are on the spigot. Take that out. Make sure water is out of that as well. Drain your water, and many suggest to open cabinet doors underneath the sink so some of that warm air will get into it. So, without further delay, this is one of the most popular things we do and very impactful as we go county by county. I'm just checking for any sort of questions here. My guy Jackson's running the 1 and 2s in the booth. Have you seen anything, Jackson? Any good questions yet?
You're asking about Yulee, Icy Road.
Oh, Yulee. Okay, yeah, for sure. So I think Yulee being kind of sandwiched, so to speak, right around the 95 running right between Yulee. I know Yulee's technically would be east of 95 there in Nassau County. I'm gonna zoom over to that for sure, but absolutely have the chance to get that freezing rain on the roads early morning in Yulee, which the overpasses. Let's be careful there, bridges. But one of the things about bridges, the lower the bridge and the closer it is to water, in fact, because our rivers and our streams right now, the marshes, above freezing, obviously. We're in the upper 50s, in many cases in mid 50s. That'll actually insulate the base of a bridge. So those will freeze last or later than the overpasses that simply just go over a road or a railroad, things like that. So we'll keep that in mind. But the flyovers on the interstate that are just going over other interstate, that cold air getting up and under those could provide some problems. So let's go county by county then. Let's answer some of those questions locally. I know town by town. So we're going to start with Ware, Brantley, and Pierce County, mainly, if we're focusing on Waycross and Blackshear. Shout out. You have the best chance to see the snow. So we'll have that rain, switching it over to an ice to a snow. Icy roads, power outages certainly will be possible, and use extra care, especially Wednesday morning as you make your way over some of the overpasses. The overpasses that go over some of the train tracks and things like that, and the smaller bridges, you're going to want to be extra careful. Zooming over now to Glenn County, Camden County, Charlton County. So Folkston and Charlton County certainly could have that risk. That line is right over Folkston, isn't it? So if you go outside and you don't be too surprised if overnight into early Wednesday morning you see a couple of flurries out there. Highly doubtful of any accumulation. And that would include western Camden County. Notice Camden County west of 95. I included Kingsland and Woodbine there. St. Mary's more of, I think, a freezing rain. And the closer you get to the river and to the bodies of water, the Nassau Sound, et cetera, the less chance you're going to have of seeing that even. Brunswick west of 95. So Glenn County west of 95. Certainly need to watch out for the slick bridges, though. All right, Nassau, Duval County. So this does include Yulee. My friend's asking about Yulee, but Callahan I heard a question about as well. And then Fernandina, of course. Excuse me. So the closer you get to the ocean and the Intracoastal Waterway, the less likely it is that you will see true freezing rain. It'll probably just be a cold rain. West of 95, though, West Nassau, I'll be watching you for seeing some freezing rain. If you get just a quick flurry, wouldn't be surprised by that either. Now, west side of Duval, northwest side out towards the airport, you got that 295 flyover, and that's one in particular I'll be thinking about with wet roads, whether it's a cold rain or a freezing rain or a sleet. When temperatures get below 32 with those flyovers, I know crews have been out, treating roads, especially in Georgia with those brine trucks, but you want to watch those flyovers very, very carefully in Duval, west side, west of 295, and then going out that I-10 corridor. And speaking of which, so we're going to Baker County, Bradford, Union, over to Columbia County, thinking about McClenny and Sanderson over to Lake City, Lake Butler. Certainly that freezing rain will be the main concern. Get further north, though, in some of our other communities that are north of I-10 here in these counties, and up I-75 if you're exiting Lake City, going up 75 into interior Georgia, you might run into some flurries there and certainly some frozen roadways. And now, Clay, St. John's, Putnam, for the most part, you will be dealing with a really, really cold rain. In Flagler County, can't leave you out, but just want you to be aware, cold rain, very low chances of getting the wintry precipitation. So kind of want to wrap it up with our 7-day forecast here. And, also had a question on my Facebook page in particular is when we could expect to see a few consecutive days of 70. And unfortunately, we're not going to see that for 7 to 10 days, even beyond. I mean, we are just kind of in this colder than normal spell for the time being. Today, we had highlighted the first part of the day. It's not going to, watching on a Monday, we've got cold air here. We're not going to warm up much past the mid 40s for our day to day, and a little bit breezy out there, so uncomfortable. We're highlighting Tuesday, late afternoon into the evening is when we need to really be prepared, making preparations now, especially in those counties I listed that have the better chance of seeing any sort of freezing rain or sleet and perhaps even snow, Ware, Pierce County, Brantley County, and West Glenn. And then we'll kind of end that weather impact alert with things exiting the area by midday on Wednesday. So again, I want to emphasize Tuesday evening, overnight, when a lot of this will be happening when most people are sleeping, so extra blankets handy. And then Wednesday morning, any driving, let's take extra care. And shameless plug here, but keep checking out the stream. But also Good Morning Jacksonville Wednesday morning is going to be extremely important to kind of monitor, especially for our roads with Katie Jeffries watching our traffic, but we're watching for that ice, the black ice, and the freezes out and about. And yes, we put the little snow icon on the 7-day forecast. All right, when does rain turn to freezing rain? Brilliant question. Do we have the person who asked that question, Jackson? If you, I'd love to give him a shout out. But if not, that's cool too. Let's go back.
Jonathan Starling.
Jonathan, you the man. Great question. Glad you asked. Let me, I wonder if going forward actually will get me to my place faster. I want to show you the graphic I had that particularly does the freezing rain, the difference between sleet. And if you've already seen this and you've got it memorized, that's essentially going to be it for my forecast for now. But I do want to answer this question before I end. So layers of atmosphere matter, Jonathan. The snow remains snow if the whole column of air from the cloud to the ground is 32 degrees or below. You get snow. Sleet is when the snowflake melts in a very shallow area of warm air between the cloud and the surface, and then has time to refreeze. So a deep area of air that's 32 degrees or below that warmer air, which gives that droplet time to refreeze into a little piece of sleet. Now, the freezing rain question, great question. It's when you had snow in the cloud, but just below cloud level, as snow begins to fall, the temperature of the air is actually above 32. So the snowflake melts into a raindrop and stays that way until you reach the surface, where surface temperatures are much, much cooler. So you get 32 degrees or below on the surface, then that liquid water hits the surface and boom, immediately turns to a freezing rain that freezes on contact with surface. And timing, great question. So we're talking the rain turning to freezing rain. Let me get to my computer modeling. I'm going to show you. Jonathan, thanks for clearing it up, bud. I thought you wanted a science lesson. He wants to know when, which is a much, much smarter question. This model here, let's show you. So I don't know where particular you're asking about, Jonathan, but the freeze rain changing over into a snow is going to happen really late night, Tuesday night, and technically more of a Wednesday morning if we're going to, be really specific. So that 2 a.m., 3 a.m. changeover when temperatures get really cool. Then that's when Ware Pierce County will have it perhaps changing into a snowy scenario. So let's watch for that freezing rain from that 4 a.m. to about 8 to 9 a.m. time frame around most of the area. If Duval were to get any of that kind of wintry mix, that when we're hitting our morning low, so about that 7:45, 8 o'clock time frame, so 7 to 9, we'd be watching that. But again, most of the chances for that will be I-10 and north west of Duval. All right, without any other questions on the docket, I'll leave you with the 7-day forecast and leave you with the idea that we won't be going far. We're always watching. As far as programming goes, today the First Coast Living Show and the noon broadcast will be preempted by inauguration activities, so we won't be there on those broadcasts, but we'll have the full gamut of Mets in the house for the late broadcast today, and of course streaming again this afternoon. But the timing of everything and the models are kind of zeroing in on this right now. So I wish everybody a safe couple of days. Now's the time to get ready, because Tuesday night into Wednesday